This is the Above Average Podcast, and you are listening because you want an above average life.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Above Average Podcast, the podcast where we talk to above average people about their above average lives. Now, when I started this podcast, I really wanted to use it as a platform to give people who might not have had a voice to tell their story, to inspire others, and to just share their stories with everyone and hopefully inspire people. So today I've got such a man who comes to us today as an ex-gambling addict. Please welcome Craig Tampin to the show. How are you, mate?
I'm fine, thank you.
Is it a correct term to use the term ex-gambling addict? Is that correct?
Whenever I'm at my meeting, I always sort of say that I'm a compulsive gambler, and that's
right.
what I'm going to say until the day I die, basically. So, yes.
Interesting. We'll get into that identity as well. So just take us back, mate, because obviously it's not something I'm familiar with. It's not something I think a lot of the viewers and the audience listener will be aware of, because you hear a lot about drug addiction, alcohol addiction, things, even sex addiction as well. But gambling addiction sort of gets thrown by the wayside. So just take us back to because you picked this up from a surprisingly young age. How old were you when you picked this habit up?
I was about 15 years old. I think at the time you could be 16 to place a bet. Obviously that's changed to 18 now, but I remember, like we used to sit around the dinner table Christmas, and we'd always have a scratch card, and I think the sense of the scratch in the card, that would sort of take away my brain, and then football betting sort of took off. I used to sit in my mum's house with me friends with our pens and my betting slips and ticking off the teams as they came in. And I suppose it was like the rush and the euphoria that sort of got us hooked. And then obviously a lot of gamblers will know this, but a chasing feeling comes in. So essentially that's like when you've lost a bet, you're trying to chase what you've lost previously to try and win back again. And then that just snowballs and just turns into destruction, really. And then went on a bit of a mad spree, lottery. I think by the end I was betting on like Icelandic volleyball. Do you know what I mean? It got to that.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
So it really went to the extremes, yeah.
It wasn't even the fact that I was bothered by the outcome. It was just I wanted to put something on. And then, like I say, I think it was the age of 24 that I first walked into Gamblers Anonymous. So
it's quite. So it's nearly 9 years until you decided to get help, wasn't it? Yeah.
I mean, I tried to help myself. I tried to stop a lot of times, and I just couldn't. I had help from my mum a lot. I used to get loans out to fund my habit. I used to get catalogues. I used to sell clothes. I used to sell games. I used to sell shoes. I used to sell everything to fund my habit. And like when I walked into them rooms, I didn't know what to expect. I suppose it was a sense of relief when I realised that there was people like me out there.
Yeah.
But I think truly at that age, I didn't want to stop.
Well, yeah, 15 is quite an impressionable age. Like you do hear about people who get addicted to things. It starts in their teenagers. What was it that, obviously you said the scratch cards and stuff at Christmas. Like what else? Like if 15, like, because you must have looked old to get into like a gambling thing. You must have looked. It was. I mean, for anyone that's not watching the video, Craig has a very, very incredible beard. I don't like bringing people on the podcast who have better beards than me, but Craig, I just had him on. You're having a great beard, mate.
I think when I think back, I always used to have that sense that money was burning a hole in my pocket. Like I would get pocket money and I'd want to spend it like there and then. I'd never save. And I think as vividly as maybe sort of 6, 7, when you went on the amusements and the 2p machines.
I used to love those 2p machines, man.
Like so did I. Like I really did, but I never thought it would spiral down the path that it did. I always wanted more 2p's. I always wanted another pound. Do you know what I mean? And I felt like that's what I've come to terms with in my life. It's like an all or nothing approach sort of thing.
You do tend to find there's a lot of people who get addicted to things are very much all or nothing people. I know I had one guy on here who used to be into the cocaine and all stuff like that, and he was like, I'd either be off it or I'd be completely on it. And I'm sure there's a lot of people listening who are going, well, I'm an all or nothing person, and it's like you can take it to massive extremes where it, like you said, it completely ruins your life. I mean, obviously I've never been through it myself, and that's why I really want to say, like, this episode is nothing I'm familiar with. I had to do a little bit of research on Craig beforehand and gambling addiction and stuff, but it's not something that I think is very much talked about.
Yeah.
So take me back to you mentioned when we spoke earlier that you didn't actually like the winning so much. You kind of felt bad when you did win on those machines and stuff like that. Was it like the what do you call them machines? The pulley machines.
The slot machines. So go in obviously with all intentions to put a bet on, and I think if I'm going to define addiction, it's like having a desire over sort of rational thinking. Like, you know that it's wrong, but that desire will always overtake the rational side of it. So whenever I went into a betting shop, I would be in my own little bubble, so to speak. And if I'd won, that was my intention originally. But when I won, I was devastated because I had to like sort of either withdraw and stop, or I could continue and go to zero. But then that would be defeating the object of trying to win in the first place.
Interesting.
So I think a lot of people will relate to this, but if I ever won £500, I would make sure it went to zero 9 times out of 10, because that's it. It's really hard for us to describe it and put into words, but I feel like the euphoria, the rush and everything else, it was the feeling that I was getting pressing these buttons and watching the anticipation of, like, say, bonus, and then just missing. And the next bonus, just missing, and that would build up like a volcano, you know. And then as soon as the 3 bonuses hit in, I would erupt, but for seconds, and then I'd go, right, well, I need that again. And like I say, from Icelandic volleyball to Egyptian football, it wasn't a case of putting like money on Harry Kane. How people say nailed on, so to speak. I don't think there's anything nailed on in betting. Just
well, house always wins, right?
A chance, aye, that's it. But for me, it was this rush and this sensation that I think it's indescribable.
But it's strange that you say, because obviously a lot of people would think, well, you're addicted to getting more money and you want more money and you're chasing more money. Yeah. But it's actually the feeling of being in that moment of pressing these buttons and stuff, which I think is quite difficult to get your head around. I think,
totally. I mean, don't get us wrong. I've went out. There's been times when I have walked away with money, but I think that was the rational side of us going, right, well, you can probably pay your payday loan off, or you can do this, or you can buy yourself some new shoes. But then the desire would always sort of take over and go, right, we need to do this again. And especially in my earlier days, like my younger days, when I didn't have like sort of no responsibilities and stuff, I could be in there for hours. And it would just be like a robot pressing that button. If I'm going to use one example, in my younger days, I told my mum that I was going to go for a run. The betting shop was around the corner from the house, and I sat in the betting shop for about 2 hours. 2 hours, and I couldn't even run 2 hours back then.
Yeah.
And after I'd lost, I think it was like 300 quid, I was realisation kicked in, and then I thought, right, I've told my mum that I'm going for a run, so then I had to literally sprint up the street, so I was sweating. So then I'd walk back in the house, and my mum would go, oh, bloody hell, that was a long run.
Yeah, just telling everyone that you're going around running. Yeah.
And it's not just the feeling of desire and all that, it was all the other behaviours that came with it, that as a compulsive gambler, it's quite hard to get your head around and quite hard to accept that these are some of the things that you do. Guilt, lying. There's loads of other things that come with it.
Did you care about the money that you lost? Did that ever bother you?
Days after, yes, but not at the moment.
Was it almost like, because people say now when they pay by card, it's like it doesn't feel like paying for anything because it's not in cash, but like obviously you're putting that money in yourself.
I used to treat it as monopoly money. That's what I would say it as. I wouldn't say it as like, if I had £20 in my hand, I wouldn't say that as real money. I would say it as like something that was, once it's gone, sort of thing. And I found that, like, maybe when I did enter recovery, like properly in 2021, everyone says it's not about the money, but ultimately, it comes down to that. And I hate the way that I've acted, but at the end of the day, this disease just took control of my life, and I had no control over certain moments, and I wish I did, but luckily now I feel like I've got control of my life.
Yeah. Did any of your friends and stuff know about this? Did people have any idea?
If I'm honest, when I was about 17, 18, I felt like that was the culture. Like, especially around where I lived. I know a lot of people obviously find the gambling subject a bit hard to take on, but we used to like sit there with our little pens, and so like there was say for instance there was a bet called both teams to score. So basically either team had to score within the game. And whereas I think most of my friends would like be happy that the bet had come in, from minute 0 to minute 90, it would be like my heart rate would be going up all the time. Do you know what I mean? Like, if a team had come in to score, I'd be like, right, this other team has to score now. And then I'd check my watch a minute later, I'd check my phone a minute later, and I'd be refreshing constantly. And I'd build it up so much that if it didn't happen, that I would have to do it. So like I would have to chase it, sorry.
Yeah.
So my friends obviously bet alongside of us, but it wasn't until I was 24 and I went into the rooms for the first time, I think, that I sort of spilled the beans and told them.
Yeah.
I think they had a sort of inkling, you know what I mean? Like when I used to go out drinking and stuff, I would always be the one having 10 shots instead of 1, or 10 pints instead.
Well, yeah, all or nothing, doesn't it? Yeah. So that all or nothing mentality sort of fed into other areas of your life as well, then.
Smoking, you name it. So
did you ever touch like recreational drugs and stuff, or?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. When I was younger. Luckily enough, that didn't hook me. But when I was younger, cigarettes, and looking back, alcohol as well. And I never thought I was. It's not like, I think people see alcoholics as like people who drink every day. Whereas I feel like it was just similar to the gambling approach, you know, like I couldn't just have one bet. I would have to have 10. I couldn't just. So that's why I made the decision last year to completely stop drinking.
Yeah. How many times a week would you be playing these games? Would you be putting bets on? Like, how often was it?
Sometimes every day. Sometimes every day. I mean, from 18 to say 21 maybe, I'll probably say every day. And when I got paid, I'll be planning my bets for the weekend. So I wouldn't be planning what me wages were going to cover, as in like phone bills, this, that and other. I'd be going, right, I've got £50 for this week, £50 for next week. And I would always I would pay me bills, don't get us wrong. But all the money that was left, I would leave for gambling.
Yeah.
And I would look like a complete and utter waste. Like, I wouldn't even treat myself to new clothes. I'd be wearing like old clothes for ages, and I think everything else around us deteriorated. Like, you know, like I never used to shower. You know, like I didn't brush my teeth for days on end because I was just obsessed. Like, I would wake up thinking about betting. I would go to sleep thinking about betting.
Well, that was my next question, was how often did the thought pop into your head? Like,
all the time. Like, I'd be lying if I say that it doesn't now. Like, and it's not like, as in like I want to go and bet, but like I could be watching a match and a thought will come in, see Harry Kane scored, and automatically your brain goes, he would have been 3-1 to score. But it's not like I'm going to go and put the bet on, because I feel like obviously my mindset's totally changed now. But I just mean, like, as a compulsive gambler, I don't think you're ever going to truly get rid of that. It's like putting it in a file and locking it away, but not letting it out, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, we had a guy on probably the start of the podcast, and he basically dealt with people who describe themselves as food addicts, who ate for comfort, ate to feel something. And one thing he said that was like, most addictions are there to fill a void. So I'm just curious, have you ever looked into that? Have you ever thought, maybe what was my void? What was I trying to fill? Was there something missing from your life back then?
I'm not sure, because I really had a really positive and good childhood. I feel like if we go back to obviously the previous question in regards to how old was I when I started, I think it's come to the realisation that I was just an all or nothing approach type of guy.
Yeah.
And whether that's a positive thing or a negative thing, I felt like anything that happened in my life was always going to be that approach.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I look now, I'm obsessed about like running. I'm obsessed about keeping fit, and it's like it gets to a point where it becomes sometimes an unhealthy obsession.
At least now it's with something that's a little bit better for you. You know what I mean?
Don't get us wrong. Like obviously, it's brilliant to have that. I just mean like I think I sort of accepted it about a couple of meetings, because when you go back to the meeting, obviously you have to share why you're there. And I sort of mentioned that this approach, the all or nothing, and I could see like the group sort of nodding as I'm speaking, like in my peripheral vision. And I thought they know what I'm talking about, so I feel like that is going to be me until I pass away, and it's something I've accepted now.
Yeah.
But like that's why I've stopped drinking, stopped smoking, stopped gambling. But we always say at the meetings that you just take it one day at a time. You can't say that you're never going to bet again because you just don't know. You literally don't know. Like, so that's all I do. I prepare myself for today and make sure I'm ready for the fight, really. So,
What would happen, say, for example, just out of curiosity, if you were, say, at, I don't know, you went to a mate's wedding, right? And on the table are these little daft scratch cards for, like, just because they just decided to, but they had no idea about, obviously your compulsion. What would you do in that scenario? Would it be something that you had to step away from? Would you carry it out and be like, I can handle this one? Or would you just, like, what would your response to that kind of be?
No, I wouldn't even consider scratching it. I would either say, look, it's something that I've got to speak to you about privately or whatever, because I've came up this scenario many times that I've been in recovery, and I can't even do raffles now. Like that's
it is essentially you're right.
That's as extreme as it goes. I can't do that, and obviously, when I take me kids out to these events and family fun days, and they're like, "Dad, can I go on the raffle?" I'm like, "Yeah, you can." You know what I mean? But like, so I let them pick the numbers out, and it's even like my son's born on Christmas Day, and like
that's cool.
Aye, the absolute legend.
Is he called? I was going to say, is he called Jesus or is it Jesus?
No, he's but like we had a Christmas dinner last year, and he was like, "Does anyone want to play Christmas bingo?" And I just like sort of looked at Danielle. I was just like, "Just leave me out of it. I'll just keep the dinner." You know what I mean? And it's just, I know it's like fun, but like I don't want anything at all.
Yeah.
To trigger something off.
It's playing it more safe, isn't it? Yeah.
So that's what it is. It's just putting barriers in place, and that's obviously what we get told at the meetings as well. You have to put 3 barriers in place. You have to try and look for a new hobby. You have to put any blocks in place that you possibly can, and then you have to sort of give up access to cash.
Yeah, which is something that you mentioned to me earlier, was that you actually, and I know you're open to admit this, you would take the odd fiver, you would have things in birthday cards and stuff like. Obviously, you never you didn't like rob a bank or anything for this stuff, but you did obviously take stuff from other people. Can you describe that sort of time?
I'm not ashamed. Not ashamed to say it. Obviously, it's going to help someone out there, but I think when you haven't got nothing, I think you'll do out. You literally.
Well, yeah, it's desperation, isn't it? Almost.
Aye, and it's obviously. I think this is why I wanted to do this. It's really hard to explain to someone who hasn't got an addictive personality or addictive mind, or isn't in the sort of all or nothing approach. But I feel like if you've made your mind up on that day to put a bet on, you're going to get the money no matter what. And there's been times where, say when I was at my mum's house, I had a daughter from a previous relationship, and she would get like a birthday card sent through the door, and sometimes I would say, "Oh, look, who's this one off?" And then I'd have a quick look in, and if there was like 30 quid, I'd take a tenner and say, "Oh, look, you only got 20 quid," you know? And like it, like for months, it ate us up, like ate us up, until I spoke about recently at a meeting. It's one of the things I really like feel feel guilty of, like, but it's just, it wasn't me, like, it wasn't me, like, because I know that now, like, me sitting here today, that I'm not that person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it was the disease, desire, whatever you want to call it, just simply overtook my brain, and I couldn't control it.
Well, we'll get into a bit later about how you've been paying that back and stuff as well. But obviously, why do you think it took 9 years for you to kind of go and seek that help? Why did you wait so long? Like, did it just not appear that it was a problem, or what happened?
When you go into these rooms, I've seen it many times before. I went in when I was, I think it was 24. I got my year coin. So you get a coin for every year that you gamble free.
Yeah.
And it was a really big group. It was a really positive group. I made some really good friends there. People who are still there 9 years later. So when they see me walk back in the room after 9 years, they were like, "What happened?"
Yeah.
And
so there's people in there who've been going to these meetings for 9 years. Wow.
So there's one bloke, I just want to say it because I think he's an absolute legend. He's been going since 1997.
Wow.
He still goes now.
I was born in 96. I'm 27, so he's been going, like 28 years?
He goes more or less every week. And I thought, that's incredible, that. So when I went back to the rooms at 24, I don't think it was for me. I think my mum sort of pushed us. Sort of like, a bit of both. I wanted help, but my mum was like, "Howie, sort yourself out," sort of thing. So when I went there, I'd done a year, got me coin, and then after me coin, I think I just thought I'd cracked it. I think I went for a couple of months, and then started putting the lottery on. But because I was putting the lottery on, I didn't think it was gambling because it wasn't football.
Yeah, and there was no immediate
slot machines. So, and then it was lottery, and then I would always go like 6 month or 9 month breaks, and I'd go, right, I'm all right now. And then I'd buy a scratch card, or I'd put a fiver on, and then remember, like, it was yesterday, I got I think it was 31, third kid had just been born, Jacob, and I don't know why I always say that he's like, it's not, I don't believe in God, but I just believe that there's a higher power.
Yeah.
And I believe that he was born for a reason. And it was 12 days later that I decided to tell Danielle. We were going to go to Wales. That's where she's from originally.
Yeah.
We were going to go to Wales for a trip for Christmas. And I thought, I'll just tell after Wales. And I knew deep down that if I told after Wales, I would never tell her at all. And I didn't think I'd be here now. Like, that's. How
long were you with her before? What's period of time before you told her?
For about 7 years.
And she had no idea.
She was there for me.
Oh, right, okay.
So she was there for me coin, and like I say, I think I went like 9 months to a time thinking, and I would have the odd bet, and then I'd realise it was getting a bit out of control, so then I'd have another break, and then when I got about 30, 31, I could sort of sense it going a bit,
like spiraling
out of control again, like to the point where I was when I was younger. And I spoke to one of my best mates, who I'm like really grateful for. I said, "Look, Lee," I said, "I've been betting again." He says, "I can't control it." I says, "I don't know what to do." I says, I want to tell Danielle, but I don't at the same time. And he says, "You're gonna have to do it." And I remember sitting there in my living room, just staring at the white wall, and I was like, "Is this what my life is? Am I just waking up, betting, depressed?" Like dealing with family, but not dealing with family because I'm not present. And then starting the cycle all over again. It's like a hamster getting on the wheel and then getting back off.
Yeah.
And I went upstairs and told her, and like my heart's going fast as out now.
It's alright. Do you want to come back to this?
No, it's alright.
Sure.
I told her. Told her what I've been doing, and I should have really been there for her. Should give birth 12 days prior, And I just told her that I'd been betting again, and I just said, look, I don't want to die because of this disease. Like, I don't want to, because 9 times out of 10, that's what it leads to suicide. And so I told her, and I ended up living with my mum for about a week.
Was that a mutual decision, or
It was a sort of, it was, but it was, I wanted to do it. Like, I wanted to show her that I meant business.
Yeah.
Because as soon as I told her that, it was like a weight was lifted off my shoulders. And like, I know it's been happening, you know, I've told people many times before in the past, but it just felt different this time. I think it's because I had something to lose.
Yeah.
I had a house, I had kids, you know, responsibilities, and yes, I had them before, but I didn't have the house, and my relationship was really strong. And I went to live with my mum, and then I think it was the Saturday that I placed my last bet. It was the 17th of December 2021, and by the 19th I was back in the rooms. So
What was Danielle's reaction when you told her?
just burst into tears. And I think people have vivid memories of stuff that they'll never forget, and that's one thing that I sort of use as a barrier.
Yeah.
I don't want to ever see her in that pain again, because I know that I wasn't like violent or anything like that, but it was just the fact that I'd done something sort of behind her back and been a bit disloyal and stuff. And
Was that the first time you'd sort of noticed that it really affected someone around you, or was there a time before that?
No, that was the first time. And then obviously I had to tell my mum, my sister, and I think when your mum gives you a bollocking, you know that
no matter what age you are,
you know that you're in bother. And she swore, actually. She said, you need to sort your life out. You need it. You know, you've got everything that you could ever dream of. And then I remember my sister taking us, and I couldn't even buy a meal. I couldn't even buy a. She bought us a Five Guys before the meeting, and I just kept thinking like about not waking up to them. You know what I mean, the fact that I was waking up with my mum's, and like, you know, I'm grateful for my mum letting us stay there, but I just mean it was just horrible. Like, I think the day after my meeting, Danielle had let us read a book to Charlie over the phone. I thought, I didn't want to.
Yeah, it's not the life for you, is it? Yeah.
So I made sure, like, I went, and we speak about all or nothing, but like, I went all in the recovery this time. I changed my banks. I done everything that everyone told us, and I'd like to say, like, if you interviewed sort of Danielle now, that should say she's proud of us, and you know, she's proud of the partner and the father that I am. And I feel like I had to go through all that struggle and all that stress and whatever else to be here now.
Yeah.
And to share this message, really.
Yeah. Amazing. So take me back to the very, very first sort of meeting that you walked into, like the very, very first time. What was that first meeting like? Do you remember it much?
No, not the first one. I was 24, but I can sort of give a vivid recollection if you want. But
I'm just curious of what your experience was like.
I think I was
sort of
very
in the beginning.
nervous.
Yeah.
Very, very nervous. At the end of the day, I feel like it's a bit like this, a bit like a podcast. You know, you're going in speaking to someone about your life that you don't know, and you have a fear of being judged. But then when you realise that you aren't being judged, you sort of relax a bit. So I went in, and they said, "Why are you here?" Told them, and you sort of, when you're speaking, you speak to the person who chairs the meeting at the front of the meeting. So you know, you're not looking around the room. You sort of direct contact with them, and as you're speaking, you can see just people nodding away to say, "I've done that. I've been through that." And I thought I was the worst in the room, and it's not like a comparison game. Do you know what I mean? You don't compare.
No,
But
yeah.
I just mean, like, I thought I was the worst one in there, and after the advice was given, I think when I look back, I think at 24, to be told that you had to give up access to cash, I think I found that hard.
Yeah.
I think I didn't take that. I think that was probably the only bit of advice which I didn't take on board, because I didn't have a I'd probably just got speaking to Danielle, and it wasn't a case of like how I take me cash.
Yeah.
And then I didn't want to keep pestering my mum while she's at work and can have a tenner for this, so I would always just have my own money, and then like I say, would always just go back to the same destination.
Yeah. How does it work in these meetings? Like, obviously, is it like what you see in the films where everyone's standing like a circle and stuff? Like,
so basically, you go around in a circle. You just basically declare your name. You declare that you're a compulsive gambler, and you declare the name, the date of your last bet, and then you get picked at random. You just essentially speak about your week, whether it's good, bad, or you can tell them if you've had any gambling thoughts or whatever, and it's essentially like a counselling session. That's what I treat it as.
Yeah. So obviously at the beginning we said that the the gambling addiction sort of takes a backseat to the drug addictions, to the alcohols. Yeah. Why do you think that is, in your own personal terms?
I think people see it as like not like a hobby, but like I hear about it at work all the time. Like, oh, we'll put a 5 on this, we'll put a 5 on that, and then they don't realise that all these 5s can add up and cause, addiction and destruction. And I just feel like I was speaking about this earlier. You see adverts in regards to the NHS showing you the effects of what alcohol and smoking can do. You've got Talk to Frank, but you've got no effects of what gambling can do. And I would love to see an advert of like, so say someone on the toilet, but like,
on Betfred and stuff. Yeah.
Because I feel like if I watched a program, I could count about 30 adverts, within that episode of Bet365, Paddy Power, and when there's an event on, World Cup, horse racing, it just gets amplified so much.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know. I think it's a fact. It's money. I think, and you're not actually physically doing something to yourself. I think that's why there's a stigma attached to it. I mean, you put a drug in you can physically see it.
Yeah.
You drink 8 cans, you can physically see it. But someone who's putting a bet on can spend like thousands in seconds. And I think a lot of people see it as like being selfish, being greedy. They don't see the sort of disease side of it, because I think it has actually been now recognised as a disease.
Yeah.
And obviously I think it's getting a lot more traction, like obviously Paul Merson come out on BBC iPlayer, and there's a lot more documentaries. You've got these gambling charities which are trying to sort of make their way forward, like The Big Step and Gambling with Lives and stuff.
Yeah.
But I just think it's a really tricky subject. But I'm hoping now, like, that it's sort of starting to make waves. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, like you said, like you can walk down the street and you can smell someone when they smell like booze, right? You can see someone that smokes because they've got rank ass teeth, or they're aged, or they just stink at yellow fingers. But you could walk down any street past a gambling addict and have no idea.
I think there's no stereotype of a gambler.
No,
like, I think if you got like 100 compulsive gamblers, put them in a line, they would all be from different walks of life. Is that
like what you thought when you walked in that meeting? You look at these people and you go, you don't look like a gambling addict.
100%. And I think that's the thing. I think everyone sort of tarnishes them with the same brush.
Yeah.
Like waste of spaces, low lives. And if I'm honest, some of the people that I've met in the meetings and some of the people that I've become friends with are some of the best people that I've ever met in my life. And they just made wrong decisions at the wrong time, and just a bit like me, just desire took over.
Yeah, so it's strange because when you mentioned like seeing people on their phones betting and stuff, when I used to work in the restaurant and stuff, I used to come in the changing rooms and there'd be like 3 or 4 of the chefs just on, betting on the football, or keeping an eye on it every 2 minutes, and I didn't think anything of it either. Do you know what I mean? And any one of them could have been spending, hundreds or if not thousands on football bets and stuff. But it was like every weekend we'd go in, there was matches on, there was something to bet on. Yeah, it's never been something that I've tried myself. I mean, my dad's always said to us, "I'll pick a horse for the Grand National."
Yeah.
I'm not asked. Like, do you know what I mean? I'm not going to win. Do you know what I mean? I'm not willing to put the money on the line. But that's just me, you know. I play a lot of stuff safe, but like you said, for a lot of people, they could just say, "Oh, go on, Craig, put a horse on the Grand National," and you're like, "No, like I can't." Like, people don't see that one thing could set that off. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the same with an alcoholic. If you're around someone that needs to stop drinking, you don't go, "Oh, we'll just have one."
Yeah.
It's like, how have you found the people around you now that you've opened up? Have they been supportive? Like, what's your support network like?
I think it's crucial. Well, when I was 24, I didn't have a support network, put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
I had my mum and this, that, and that, and me best friend. But as for like people outside the room, had nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this time, I've sort of like grasped it with both hands. I've got a really big support network.
Yeah.
I could rattle off about 10 WhatsApp groups that I'm in that really, really help us. Like,
is there anyone that you want to give a particular shout out to who might be listening?
There's about 8 people, if I'm honest. Like, if I could quickly rattle
feel free. Go if you really if you want to give them a shout out, go for it.
I want to give a shout out to Run, Wet, I want to give out a shout out to Beach Bodies, GA, Lee and JLZ. Biggest one, Danielle, for everything I've just done.
It's when I said people and you said wet, I was like, that's a strange name for a person.
I used to play for a football team last year called George Street.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a team for people based in addiction, so whether it was gambling, drink or drugs. And I found it incredible that everyone was fighting their own addictions, yet fighting for each other on the pitch.
Yeah.
And we're playing some 18-year-old whippets, but we're still like competing.
Yeah.
And from that, I created some amazing friendships. People who obviously I'm still friends with now, and we just push each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like at the minute, the Run group, it's a group where you post your running achievements on Strava, and also your dipping pictures from when you've been in the sea. But we also send each other motivational quotes, positivity videos, and if anyone's ever having a bad day, we can just put like a little video on, and people will like it, sort of comment on it or give you advice. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I love it. I think everyone should have a group like that, even if you're not in recovery. Yeah,
100%. It's like your little wolf pack, you know. I mean, I always say it, like your vibe is your tribe, sort of thing. You know, like since I've been in recovery, I think you just click with people.
Yeah,
and I think you see people that are very similar to you. So there's 2 people in Trevor and Graham that are just probably one of my best, my best mates. Like, they're just my brothers from another mother, so to speak. They're class, really good people to be around. Very inspiring. And I just feel like if you haven't got that support network around you, especially being in this addiction, you'll end up going back.
Yeah, well, the lone wolf starves,
Mm-hmm.
so they say. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But I think support networks are absolutely crucial in recovery. Like,
yeah. Well, you mentioned to me earlier that there was 3 things that they ask you to do when you start up. Obviously, you said one was give your cash away, like don't have access to your own kind of money. What were the other 2 things?
Is to block yourself from betting shops, which I wouldn't mind speaking about if that's alright.
Yeah, go for it.
And finding a new habit. So the blocking yourself at betting shops, what you do is you ring a number and you give them like a sort of mile radius, as in how many betting shops you want to buy yourself from, and you send a photo in. Now, yes, it's a great idea, but you kind of tell me that every staff that works at that betting shop is going to know your face, because everyone that bans themselves, they'll just go to a different betting shop.
They'll find a way. Yeah.
So the woman that chairs the meeting, she'll always say like, yeah, but it's the sort of shame of going into a betting shop and being told that you're banned, which I also get. But I sort of came up with an idea like recently, and you get a card. It's like a bonus card for points if you want to get free bets and stuff like that. And I thought, why not make a card that you have to sign up to if you want to put a bet on, with your picture and your address. So every time you swipe, it either says you're banned or you're not banned, and then that way, if you take that card in any shop, That's the only way you're going to put a bet on. But I know that is never going to happen.
It would have to be a nationwide system, wouldn't it? Really, yeah.
It would be. I think in that regard, it would be easy because you'd have your photo on a database. But I feel like it's never going to happen because it makes them.
It makes it harder to, well, it could even be like, when you go into like, obviously gigs and stuff now, you don't have physical tickets, you have a QR code, like even if they had, it's like, when you go into service stations and they have them barriers that have to be open for you and stuff like that, like something like that where you had to scan and it would like reject you, could.
Just anything like that's going to help.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because, you can try as much stuff as you want, and I get you've got Gamblers Anonymous and you've got the National Gambling Clinic and all these gambling charities, but I feel like betting shops and stuff like that could put a lot more preventive measures in to, help people like me and everyone else. You know what I mean?
Do they even have any preventative measures? I know on adverts they say, please gamble responsibly, and that's it.
When the
that's it.
Stops and all that sort of stuff. But no, I didn't think they did because, I mean, I've heard stories of people doing that, banning themselves from casinos, and then just walking in the next week, or they're getting letters sent to the house saying, "I haven't heard from you from a while. Do you want to come back in?" And I'm like,
"What, from a casino? Wow, I didn't know they did that."
Like obviously, not naming any names, but someone had told him that he was banned from casino, and received a letter about 6 months down the line with £100 gift card saying, "Come back in."
Wow.
So I thought, if anything, that's something that you could take to the sort of financial ombudsman or whatever it is, that the gambling commission or something along them lines. But I feel like they prey on the vulnerable, like
anything like that does. Like the house always wins, man. You think you've won a lot, the house always wins more, man. It's ridiculous. The most I ever got through in sort of gambling, if you will, is them claw machines. I did go through a phase where I was like, I'm gonna fucking get one of them. Fucking hate them. I fucking hate them. But they're rigged and that shit. But I think I won like a Peppa Pig for my brother when he was younger or something like that. It was like George Pig or something. I was like, yes! It's like the highlight of my gambling career. But so it is interesting because, like you said, there's no way to stop. There's no preventative measures, but I'm like you said, it's because there's no physical ramifications. Like even with smoking, they put on, how they put like the pictures on. Like you're not gonna have like what a gambling addict looks like on the side of a casino. Do you know what I mean?
I get that. I just feel that in 2023 there should be a lot more, because for instance, that lad who's been in here since 1997. He says, I feel sorry for the likes of yourselves who've got all these options to bet now, whereas all I had to do was go into a betting office, put me bet on. I didn't have phones, I didn't have online roulette, I didn't have, you know what I mean? So it's everything now. And I think that's why I'm a bit fearful of the sort of next generation coming up, because they're always on their phones, and TikTok, for instance, you can... I've seen it before because I've obviously, scrolled past it, but you can watch people playing on slot machines. And people
like live streams and stuff,
and it's like, God, how far we're going with this?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, because one of my next questions was about, there was a big uproar of, I think it was the FIFA games. Like, are you much of a gamer? Do you play much?
I used to.
Yeah.
But... that I've sort of lost interest.
I think it was those, and games like Fortnite and stuff. You could basically, kids were paying on these games for
battle passes,
loot boxes and stuff. Yeah, so basically, if you're not familiar with what loot boxes, it was basically you'd give them like £1.50 or something like that. You would get a random selection of players for a team, or you get a random weapon pack for Fortnite or something like that. Yeah. But it was basically, you're basically gambling on you. Do you know what I mean? And that's what they picked up on. That is, you were getting like 10-year-olds just gambling like their mum's life savings away on Fortnite and stuff. There was loads of stuff in the news about kids like wiping their parents' bank accounts out, and parents ringing up Fortnite and being like, "I need me money back." Like, my son spent like $6,000 on fucking weapon skins and that. Do you know what I mean? So
it's the same with like every game now, Call of Duty, Fall Guys, FIFA, you name it. They know what they're doing.
Oh yeah, they know.
I mean? Like, so they'll put a skin on, for example, and say Avengers movies just come out. They'll put a Thanos skin out. Yeah. And everyone goes, "Oh, Thanos skin, get me that." Do you know what I mean? And then you can see the kids' eyes lighting up. And I suppose that's all I can describe, like, what I felt like when I was on them.
And it's not even that. It's not like they can just buy that skin. It's like you might have to gamble 6 times before you might get it. You know what I mean? It's like here's a loot box. You might get a chance of getting this Thanos skin or whatever. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then next thing you know, you're 50 quid down, and they still haven't got the skin that they want. And then you can sort of see the behaviours. Or even early as 10, they get angry. They start smashing things. Do you know? Like, and I've heard many stories about it. And there's a lad. I think I've got it saved somewhere. But there's a lad who's actually created a YouTube documentary in regards to FIFA.
Right.
Like about the Ultimate Team, saying it's gambling. And I suppose it wasn't until maybe I first started recovery that I was like, oh, he's right there.
Yeah.
Because you're not, putting money on to get money, but you're putting on money to get an outcome that you want.
Mm-hmm.
So, say for instance, a Team of the Week comes out and Cristiano Ronaldo is in Team of the Week. You obviously want him for your team, and then next thing you know, you're spending money on a game. So it makes you wonder whether these kids who are buying them at such a young age will then turn into compulsive gamblers.
Well, it's definitely possible, I would say. I mean, they're clamping down on it a bit now, but I think it's definitely something that people needed to watch, especially. So if you've got kids listening to this who are playing games, make sure they're not spending money on your credit card. My brother actually, he didn't. Just as a funny story, he wasn't gambling this, but when he was younger, he's got autism. So sometimes when he was younger, he didn't fully understand how money worked. He just thought it was something that you just had and like created, do you know, within your body. Do you know what I mean? And he spent like hundreds of pounds on iTunes on songs. He just went through, and it was just, I've never seen my mom like rage more than that. You just spend loads of money, but it's so easy to do, and that's what these kids are doing. They're spending so much money of their parents' money gambling away in loot boxes.
I think it's crazy when you go back to what you said before about the card. I think it's because you're not actually physically handing over the cash.
Well, yeah, that's what people think.
It's like you're just clicking yes.
Yeah.
And then, it definitely is gambling, like 100%.
Yeah, 100%. Do you? Obviously, you said at the beginning you identify as this compulsive gambler. Like, where does that help you? Like your self identity. Where does that come into play in your daily life? Because obviously, one of the first things I would think is you would want to ditch that identity, because if I say, for example, I identify myself as an anxious person, I'm therefore, I'm going to be more anxious. So how does that play a part in your recovery?
I think it's the whole GA culture, and like obviously I've got nothing against it, but it's the sort of the first thing that I heard, and everyone declares that, and I think it's because of the whole one day at a time thing. Like, you don't know that you're not going to bet again.
So it's more about acceptance that it could happen, yeah. Okay.
So I feel like it's a case of like saying, right, I'm a compulsive gambler. I might not bet again in my life, but there's a possibility that I could. So rather than saying I'm a recovering gambler, because essentially you're all that as well, but if you had a slip or a relapse, I feel like that could cause more damage than being known as a compulsive
I can kind of say that because it's more acceptance than resistance in it. Because if you're resisting something, you're trying it. It's like when someone says, don't think of an elephant, you instantly go, I'm thinking of an elephant. Do you know what I mean? So is it that kind of like thing?
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like I do it a lot.
Yeah.
And like, so whenever I'm speaking to someone about it, I always say that I'm a compulsive gambler. And like, I don't know. I think it's just an acceptance thing that it's going to be me.
Well, language plays a big part in how we see ourselves as well. Because one of the things I hate people saying is like when they say my anxiety or my depression or something like that. It's like once it's yours, you refuse to let it go. So it has to be the anxiety, the depression. You know what I mean? Language can. It can't fix things, but it can definitely ease
tweaking the words,
it is. Yeah.
So I love all the posts that you put on. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, thanks, man.
No, I do. I really do. So
I love when I get a heart off Craig Tampin. I'm like, yes, he's watching in the background. But so I'm curious, how do you feel like you've personally changed since going into the recovery? Like so if you imagine yourself as 21, right, compared to now, what's like the biggest change you've seen in yourself?
Mentally, emotionally, spiritually, everything, physically.
Are you quite a spiritual guy now, do you think?
So when I would say these people do like yoga on the beach or meditating, I would just think, what a bunch of tossers, Like I would.
Yeah.
And I think recovery's given us a bit of open-mindedness. So I've got an app on my phone. It's actually free for a year. and it gives you a meditation plan based around things that you're struggling with in your life. So I put the three main things as anxiety, stress and sleep, which I did suffer from quite badly, and I love it. I absolutely love it. I feel like ever since 21 to now, I do a lot of self-educating. Obviously I listen to podcasts, I read books, my habits have changed, my priorities have changed. I've lost 41 pounds in weight since Christmas.
Wow. Nice, man. Impressive.
I've took up cold water therapy, which I never thought I'd say that I love cold water, but I do. And I feel like discipline is sort of unshackled the handcuffs, so to speak. I felt like I was locked away for a long time. I felt like I couldn't speak emotionally. I felt like I couldn't share how I felt, and I feel like discipline give us sort of the option to do all these things. I did a talk for a gambling charity recently, and someone asked us a question. I was actually a bit taken back because I wasn't like sort of ready to. I never sort of like planned it or thought about it. But he says like, how do you do what you do? Because obviously on the gambling charity, a lot of people know me for me running, me weight loss, me cold water therapy, and sometimes I'm getting up at like 4:30, 5 in the morning to do these things before work. And I said discipline. Even when I don't want to do it, there's something in my brain that's telling us that I need to.
Well, that is discipline, yeah.
And as much as I don't want to be running in the piss and rain, I do it anyway. And I know why I do it. And I think slowly but surely Danielle knows why I do it now. Danielle knows that if I've had a bad day, I need to go for a run. If I've had a bad day at work, I need to go in the sea. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's like, I couldn't ask for a better partner. And I'm like not just saying that, you know, like cliche sort of thing, but she's honestly like a godsend, like just everything she does for us, the kids and the stuff for my recovery. And she's obviously become friends with my friends now and their partners. And I feel like I've just went all in recovery, and I'm actually addicted to recovery. So
That's much better than being addicted to gambling, mate. Yeah, 100%.
And when I look about all the things that I've achieved in recovery, I've achieved more in recovery than I have done from 21 to 31.
Nice.
Like, I've done a charity boxing fight. I went to Wales with Epic Gambling Charity. Totally changed my life. I had a life coach for the weekend, a Royal Marine.
Nice.
And he was asking us personally, what is it that you suffer with? And I went, anxiety. I says, I always procrastinate, I always catastrophize. He says, what I want you to do is don't think about yesterday, don't think about tomorrow, just think about now. And when he said that, it was like a light bulb moment. And it totally changed my life. Literally that weekend. I mean, I always say that in recovery this time around, fate and the butterfly effect is real. It's 100% real, and I keep proving it to others and myself that it does. I went to, if I can quickly rattle this off, I went to Lillshall in Wales, had the life coach which changed my life, and then I decided to knock football on the head with my old team. I found out the place that I go to my meetings is called George Street Social, which is the same team that deals with people in addiction. So then I end up playing for them. I end up being captain for a couple of games. I end up scoring one of the best goals of my entire life for them. I end up creating beautiful friendships. Then we all entered the sea together. Then my Speedos video came about, and then it's just like
opportunity after opportunity.
Domino effect, you know, because gambling, but I just mean that's what it was.
Well, yeah.
It's everything was happening, and I thought, oh right, well, I've done this now, and then something else will come about, and I'll go, like, does that come about because of that? And then, like, I hate talking about like the universe and spiritual, but I've read this book called The Secret. Don't know if you've read it.
It's yeah.
Aye, but I do believe in it in a way,
Yeah.
and I feel like these things happening to us are proof of that.
Yeah.
I feel like I've put my energy into something, and it gave us something back. So
it's funny that you mentioned The Secret, because I always find that, like, obviously it's one of the self-help books that I think everyone starts out reading, I think, as well. It's very much like, if like, I had a friend come to me, she was like, I'm getting that self-help stuff that you're talking about. I'm like, oh, great, like, where are you starting, you know, what you're doing? She's like, oh, I'm reading The Secret. I was like, okay, cool. First things first, don't misunderstand what it means, because a lot of people think that you can just think happy thoughts and
you can get money.
you know what I mean? That's what it's like. But you've actually, like, Craig has actually done the work. He's taken the manifest idea and been like from one thing to the next to the next to the next. It's not like, you haven't just decided to sit on a cloud and manifest shit.
I get that.
I
mean, I think a lot of people, some of my friends now included, aren't sort of into it. But like, I think slowly but surely I'm sort of like proving to them that for me it's worked anyway. And like, you know, I've put myself out there, and that's led us to the next sort of butterfly effect, which is here. So obviously I'm just grateful for everything that's come my way, and grateful for all the opportunities I've been given.
Yeah, man. So tell me a little bit about the dip club and stuff. Like, how many people are running the sea? What's the group like? Like, how does it all work?
So it first started through the football team. We all found a group called Ice Guys, which is a men's mental health dipping group at Tynemouth. Big shout out Ice Guys, by the way.
There's a lot of shout outs going on this podcast, isn't there?
And we go in the sea, and we have coffee, and we talk. And I went in the sea for the first time, and I went down with tracksuit bottoms and I think like an Asda carrier bag, and everyone else had dry robes, and I was like, oh my god, what have I let myself
Did you just feel like an amateur?
I did. I went in first time, I think it was like end of October/November, and it was absolutely freezing.
Yeah.
And I went in for 20 minutes, and I never thought I'd be able to do 20 minutes.
20 minutes is a long time to do a cold water therapy.
First time. And the bloke who sort of leads the group, Tony, he was telling us that the dopamine effect lasts for like 6 hours after. And you know, when someone tells you that, you just say, whatever. So I got out, and I just felt amazing, like, and I couldn't stop raving about it to my partner. And then she was like, alright, you're going back next week. So I went back next week, bought a dry robe, bought the shoes, all or nothing. So and
you got to be kitted out, man. You got to do it properly, you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. And then one of the lads from Ice Guys came across a group called Dip Club, and then I thought, oh, why not try it? So I went for a sunrise. It was absolutely incredible. I mean, you know, when you don't do these things and you stay in bed, you realise what you've missed out on. You know, the beautiful surroundings, nature, and this, that, and other. And I got talking to the 2 girls in the group, and they had stopped drinking, which is why they created the group. And the group just took off. Obviously, I started sharing it amongst the people I was dipping with, and so on and so forth. And then their numbers started growing massively, and then the whole Speedos video came about.
When we say Speedos, by the way, it wasn't just Craig standing there in really tight pants, but
you know, I got offered the chance to wear the Budgie Smugglers. And
I was really?
Like, nah, I said definitely not. No chance.
Yeah, that's not going on the internet.
Basically, aye. But they were looking for 6 people to share a story in regards to like sort of mental health, and I thought, you know how it is, gambling doesn't get talked about. I says, you know, you hear people about alcohol and drugs and so on, and I thought, why not? So I told Danielle, and she was like, yeah, just go for it. Didn't expect to hear anything from it. You know, there's over 200 people in the WhatsApp group. There's over like, I think 6,000-7,000 on Instagram, and then I got a message saying congratulations. We decided to go for you. So I was doing like a photo shoot and little sort of clips of me in the sea and talking about gambling addiction, and it was incredible. Like, I mean, when I got the video back, I just burst into tears. Like, I was just so proud. Like, I feel like I'd watched a film of my life, but not the first, the middle, the start and the middle. Sorry, it was like the end. Like, not the end, but it was like
the setup for a sequel.
It was like, you've done this, and you've got this point, you want to be so proud of yourself, and then obviously the comments were reeling in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what I was very surprised about, especially the fact that I'd opened it out by saying, my name's Craig and I'm in recovery for gambling addiction, was I didn't get one negative comment. And I feel like that was a big thing that I was afraid of, because I thought, oh, someone's going to comment saying, you know, selfish, blah, blah, blah. But everyone was so positive and so, like, inspiring. Like, I got messages of people from around the country saying how I inspired them to get in the water, and it was just a massive thing and something that I'm very proud of.
You know, it's obviously boosted your confidence massively as well, doing all this stuff.
I'd lost the weight, and I'd been putting in the work and dieting and stuff like that, and I got the pictures back from the photographer, and my mates were tagging us saying, oh, look at James Bond of time. And I was like laughing about it, but I thought, you look good. It was the first time that I actually felt in love with my body, and I've never felt like that before. So I give us confidence, bit of self-love, and bit of everything else.
Yeah, well, you've been really giving back to you know, the community, I guess you would say. Obviously, you just done the Great North Run as well.
Yeah.
What was your time on that?
1:48.
Nice. Finally went for that 2-hour run. Aye.
I know. Do you know what it is? So one of the lads from the dipping group, his wife's not well at the minute, so we did a sort of 1,000-mile relay around the Millennium Bridge and the Tyne Bridge. So the course itself was like 1 mile, and you had to put yourself down for a certain number of miles. So I put myself down for 13, and I actually got my best time doing that run, but that was like a few weeks before the Great North Run. So my time then was 1:49, and I thought, I don't even know if I'm going to get below 1:49, because it was a really good time, especially for, like, I feel like for someone my size and, you know, who's not really like into a running club or anything like that, who just likes it as a hobby. And obviously there's a lot of weaving in and out of the Great North Run. It's not like a straightforward run.
Yeah.
And to my amazement, I'd beat it by a minute, and
Nice.
It was just such a massive achievement. And obviously the money that I'd sort of dedicated to was to Mind mental health charity, and I thought, you know, what better charity to donate the money to.
Yeah. So what was the charity boxing match that you mentioned before?
Charity boxing match was for cancer research. So both of my aunties had breast cancer. You know, they're both all right now, but I thought, you know what it is, like, I always used to be scared of doing things, and then I've realised as recoveries went on that I need to get uncomfortable to be comfortable, sort of thing. I need to get out of my comfort zone to sort of grow and stuff like that. So I thought, I've never done boxing before. People always say, oh, I'd smash his face in, blah, blah, blah. You know, like...
Everyone says that until they get punched in the face, right? Yeah.
And then I thought, right, I'm going to do it. So I'd done it, and lost a bit of weight, and I got in the ring, and I gave it all I could, and I think I got belted in the face about 40 times. I mean, I gave him as much back as he gave me, but I didn't go down. And that's one thing that I sort of was
You're like,
buzzing
yes, proud.
But you know what it is? It was me beard. It was me beard that stopped us.
Or just thinking the blows?
The helmet wouldn't strap underneath properly.
All right.
So every time he was punching us, like an odd punch would bring me helmet off, and the referee was like, if it happens 3 times, I'm going to stop the fight. So it happened the 3rd time, and like I was gutted because I felt like I was just getting. It's only 3 rounds, but like, you know, after that I thought, if I can do a boxing match, you know, through 8 weeks of like sort of basic training, I can do anything. Like,
yeah. Did you feel like Rocky? Was it like Rocky and Apollo?
No, I felt like Rocky Biscuit more. Like no, but like I just put my name forward for a lot of other things then, and I got asked by that gambling charity to do a video, and I'm going on all these courses through to sort of better myself, and aye.
Yeah, well, you did a march for the Big Step as well. Tell me a little bit about that.
So there was about 6 lads from Gamblers Anonymous. We were all quite close, and it's basically a march. I don't know if you want to call it a protest, but it's sort of like trying to get gambling advertisement from shirts and stuff like that, because I don't think you see alcohol sponsored on any shirts anymore. You used to have like Carlin and stuff like that.
True,
You
yeah.
the Carlin Cup. It's all like gambling related now. So we marched from the town, Newcastle, Gateshead. I think we went past Middlesbrough as well, and I think that on the way they went through Carlisle and Hartlepool, and it was an 18-mile walk the first day. So I'd only put myself down for the first day, done like the half of it, if you want to call it that, but it was 6 hours of walking, and I think it was just nice to walk along with people who obviously were in the similar background to me, but there was also people there who had lost people to suicide
because of gambling
addiction, and that was a bit eye-opening, because I feel like suicide is like past the point of rock bottom, you know, when you can't see any hope. And lucky enough, you know, I was just at rock bottom, and I eventually, you know, was able to see the light again. But for some of the people there to lose their sons and their husbands, and it was hard to take. You know what I mean? It was like you didn't know what to say sometimes. Like, even though you knew what they were going through, thought processes and stuff like that, the fact that they maybe couldn't see the help, or the fact that they could see that their life could potentially change, I think that's quite sad.
What is it that you think drove, you know, these gambling addicts in the past to suicide? Do you think it was the debt, maybe, or was it the fact that they couldn't beat a habit? Like, what do you think?
I think it's a lot of things. I think it's an accumulation of everything. I think it's probably the debt, if I'm honest, for a lot of people that commit suicide, because I feel like they think, oh, right, well, I can't do anything. But there's a lot of charities out there now that help with sort of stuff like that, step change and all that sort of stuff. But I think ultimately it's because you're fearful that you can't ever break this habit. I mean, I must admit, I had that point one time, and I was just, you know, my mind was constantly just thinking of ways to like not be here anymore, like, and it's a horrible feeling to think of, like, it really is. And but I just think they're probably at that point where they don't think they can beat it.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not saying that I have beat it, because I think that's when complacency creeps in. I just mean, like, I just don't think they could see their life being any better than it was. So I think that's the answer to that.
Yeah. So you spoke to me before about what you felt your purpose was. Now, it's not something that I've actually discussed on this podcast, a lot of people's purpose, because obviously a lot of people that come on have, you know, they're just doing their thing, and it kind of goes without saying. But now I'm just curious, when you said your purpose, you think you found your purpose. What is that? Just explain for everyone listening.
I think when you leave school, you get pushed into, you know, looking for a job and this, that, and other, and you don't really think you have time to think truly what you want to be. Obviously, I got into apprenticeship for the local council, doing plumbing, and as much as I love it, and as much as it's a good money maker and stuff like that, I feel like ever since I've entered recovery, I feel like my purpose is to help others, because I've dedicated my Instagram to my recovery and my journey. So it's all the stuff that I think's necessary, the fitness, the videos, and I even put the, like, sort of not negative stuff, but I guess the times when I'm struggling. So I'll put like a video on saying I've had a really bad day today, but I've come out for a walk. You know.
Well, it's more relatable than just
here's
what I ate in a day. Yeah.
So I'm trying to be true to myself, and then I'll get a text message saying, just seen your video, very inspiring. Or like, I'll go to a meeting, I'll say something, and then I'll get a text later on going, wow, you've helped so much. And I'm like, all I'm doing is speaking. And I don't know, like, this is me being vain or cocky, but I don't know if it's just me aura that I've got, or the way I come across, or the way I speak about things, you know. But like, to speak for the gambling charity that helped you at the start, I thought that was massive. That I thought I'm making steps here, and then I decided to make a cold water group, which had like 70 odd people in it, and then they've all made friendships from it. And then on October the 7th, I'm doing a walk for CALM, which is the campaign against living misery.
Nice, yeah.
And that's basically to raise stigma in regards to suicide, gambling addiction, and there's a Just Giving sort of QR code on there.
Nice.
And I've already had loads of people saying that they're going to come along, and I'm like, they're coming along for that, but also coming along for me.
Yeah.
And there's one person in particular, and I don't want to name, but he knows exactly who he is. But he came into this. Oh God! He came into the room last November, and we played on the same team, and we just clicked straight away. And like, I always checked in on people. I always checked in on him. And I didn't hear from him for a while, and then he sent us a message one morning. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning, just basically asking for help. Said I'd try and help him, and I got him back into the rooms. And when I look at him now, he's only 2 months away from his year coin, and he's also battling drink and drugs. So he's also like 2 months away from a year coin from each addiction. He's lost 50 pounds in weight. He done the Great North Run for the first time this year, and he sends us messages all the time, like saying how much I've changed his life, and how much he loves us as a person. And I just think, like, all I've ever done, yes, I've done bad things, but all I've ever done now is just be myself. And like, I'm changing people's lives, essentially. I'm not saying obviously it's all down to me, but to get them back in them rooms and to keep them going. And you know, we're doing the Edinburgh Marathon next year, which we've never ever done. We've never done a marathon. We've never done anything above 13.1 miles. And the fact that we can all say that there's like 7 people in recovery crossing that line together, it's going to be emotional, like, really emotional. But I just think, like I say, as much as I love plumbing, and I think that's why I'm putting myself forward for all these courses, I don't know, if an opportunity arises, which I've got a feeling, you know, when I talk about The Secret and the universe and putting stuff in my path, I feel like a job opportunity, maybe if it's 10 years down the line, something's going to jump up and I'm going to go, that's for me.
Yeah.
And I'll probably end up stopping plumbing and jumping into that role and hopefully flourishing in that. But I think when you help someone and inspire someone, it's a feeling that you cannot describe. Like, it's an incredible feeling, and to know that you've, you know, that he's flourishing now in his life, his kids, his family, his wife. It's amazing. Like, it's amazing to be part of.
Oh, what a guy! What a guy! Amazing. You got me emotional there as well. I need it. Like, you know, what you feel in your throat. But so, mate, if there was someone listening who has gone through any sort of addiction of any kind, what is your best piece of advice you would give them? They're listening to this, they're hearing your story, they're going through their own story in their head. What do you need to say to them?
I think, firstly, communication's key. You need to speak to someone, whether it's your mother, father, partner, whatever. Don't hide it away. As much as you think that it's going to cause destruction and this, that and other, ultimately it's going to help you. I felt like for ages I didn't want to speak to Danielle, but I knew it was the right thing to do. And then once you accept help and know that you need help, because I think that's a massive step. Like, you know, saying, help us, you know what I mean, I need help. Once you accept that help, I think the first step is to go into these rooms. You don't have to necessarily go physically in these rooms. There's Zoom versions of them. And then once you go to these rooms, you'll get given the advice. Obviously, it's up to the individual to take that advice on board, but I'd highly recommend it. And then friendships can be created, new habits can be created, and then you can truly become the best version of yourself. I think one thing I just quickly add is that I used to judge people that were addicts because I never truly thought I was one. I used to think, oh bloody hell, look at them, you know. But then when I realised that I was one myself, I thought, you don't know their story. You don't know what they've went through.
Yeah.
So like, even if you're going through some really tough times at the minute, just know that there's light at the end of the tunnel. You know, you don't have to essentially go down the route of suicide, and I just feel like there's hope for everyone as long as they let it in. I think a lot of people are a bit reluctant to let go, especially when they've been, you know, doing something for a long time. It's essentially like letting go of a best friend, if you want to call it that. But I'd say communication, get yourself in the rooms, and just don't be afraid to ask for help.
Nice, man. Can people come to you for help?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, where can people find you? Where can people follow you?
If you go at, I think it's either Craig Tampin or Tampioni on Instagram. I don't have Facebook anymore. Got rid of it. Too much negativity.
Yeah.
But yeah, just if you want to send us like a message on Instagram, I think me profile's public, so
It's Craig's Journey, isn't it? Is that right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. It's
I'll put it at the bottom of the screen for everyone as well.
But like I say, if anyone's out there, I'm at the meeting every Monday. That's my meeting. And I'd just like to say, obviously, there's 3 meetings a week in Newcastle. If you go on gamblersanonymous.co.uk, you'll find all meetings respective to your area. And there's 3 meetings a week. There's one at George Street on a Monday. There's one at Brunswick Church, which is just by Phoenix, Northumberland Street, on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
And there's a final one at George Street on a Thursday. So, and there's lots of charities out there as well that'll help you. So
amazing, mate. Well, I just want to say, and I think everyone listening will say the same, that you're incredibly brave for coming on, telling your story. You've been open about it. You haven't hidden anything. It's completely authentic, and I think that's what people need now, is that authentic storytelling. None of this influencer bullshit. It's like, here's real people with real stories, and I think a lot of people relate to what you said today, mate. So, do you have anything else you want to finish up on?
I just want to finally end on. I feel like doing this is gonna close a chapter in my book of life, so to speak. Yes, I've done bad things, and I apologise to everyone that I've ever hurt, but I'm hoping now that you can see the best version of myself. And my name's Craig. I'm a compulsive gambler, and the date of my last bet was the 17th of December 2021.
Nice, man.
Thank you.
No worries, man. I massively appreciate you coming on. I massively appreciate your time today, as always. Listen, guys, if you want to check out more of Craig, you can find him on the links on the screen below, and I'll put in the description of this video as well. As always, please check out all the episodes on the channel as well. I feel like I'm trying to make this happier at the end. We are happy. Craig's good. He's good. He's emotional, but he's good.
Now.
He's good.
There's a lot of...
Yeah, man. It's been a heavy episode, but I think I've definitely learned a lot, and I think, you know, one thing I love about doing this is I get to meet so many interesting people. Yeah. You know, like the opportunity spiral. I get to meet people's stories, and I'm just honoured to be a part of yours, mate. Even in such a small way, it's just allowing you to have a platform to tell your side of things. So,
I think just like one final thing. I think I've done things in the past, like I'd done a story for a gambling charity, but I changed the name. So I was known as Mark, and I didn't have a face, but now I have got a face and I've got a name, and like I'm proud of like everything that I've done, and like I'm really grateful that you've given us this opportunity to sort of, you know, show the world, so to speak, who I truly am. I'm not ashamed anymore. I'm proud of the person that I've become, and I aim to keep doing that every day.
Amazing, man. I'm so happy you came on, man. It's been such an emotional roller coaster of a journey with you. So, but thank you very much for listening, guys, and I will see you all in the very next episode.